Alrighty, traders. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Daily Roundup webinar, and I want to welcome you all. We're gonna well, actually, we're gonna talk about a couple of different things here. First and foremost, let's talk about the price action. Like many of us, I expected a little bit more dollar selling to come in at month end, but what we've seen is, dollar buying to come in month end, but what we've seen is we've seen dollar selling. We've seen the euro spike up towards its highs of the session after respecting the support here, which means that the euro can probably come back and retest the 112.90. Remember, this is a 618 retracement. It was a big resistance yesterday. I'm assuming it's going to be a big resistance on the way back up again. That's entirely possible. The cable, big spike up in the cable. 124 has been capping the rally, or near 124, but 124.15 would be this downsloping trend line, which I think is going to offer some resistance. Matter of fact, let's do this really quick. Let's grab this. Looks pretty doable. Okay, so we might make another stab up there. The Aussie dollar held triangle support. Triangle resistance comes up just a little bit, about 69.25. That might get taken, but the other thing about the Aussie is we might have just made it a false breakout, but we'll see. The jury's still out here because equities are stronger, and the Kiwi. So the Kiwi held support, didn't break down. So here we are. Probably we've got to test this before breaking. Hold on. So I'm just, FCC designates Huawei and ZTE as national security threats. Whoops, that's not good. That is not good. Might see a little bit of risk aversion. Just keep an eye on the markets here. That just came out just a moment ago. You probably heard that little ding. That was the infamous Bloomberg ding. Let's see. Okay, so S&P should probably find some resistance around these levels anyway. Right around here. You got that 618 coming into play too. So around the 3100 level. Okay, so I wanted to point out a couple of those things. Oh, and then also like the dollar Canadian came down. I tried to buy this once here at 60 as we were at this support, and then I closed it out for a small loss as we dropped towards 50, somewhere around there. I bought it here, and then I put my stops below here, and I got out of it. I picked it up again at 136.20 as we were just above this support, but I have the ability to add a little bit if we get back down towards 130. I thought we were going to take the stops through 136 aggressively, but we're holding up now. But even if we rally back, I was telling the guys and gals in the chat room, we rally back like that, I'm gonna probably scale out of it, and unless this risk aversion that we're seeing here in equities actually picks up some steam. This is what I'm talking about. Here's a 15-minute chart. As soon as that headline came out, we saw this little selling. Okay, that'll bid the dollar Canadian back up again. But like what I'm thinking is, yeah, any move back up towards the 40s, 30s, I'll probably just scale out of it and take off a little bit and just revisit it, because I actually do think that the dollar Canadian breaks through 137 eventually. It doesn't look like it's going to be today, obviously. So we did have some. We're having a conversation about U.S. politics, and I'm going to just talk a little bit about politics from an American's point of view, but also you guys have to take it with a grain of salt, because I'm no political expert. I am not a political junkie. I like what I like. I don't like what I don't like, and that's it. I've been a Republican for my whole voting lifetime, up until this last election, and I've classified myself more as an independent now, because I'm going to go with whoever I think that aligns with my with my point of view versus party affiliation. So whatever I say, don't take it as a you know, I'm way over here, way over there. I'm just going to tell you guys how I see things, and from a outsider's point of view, looking in. So there was a headline that just came out. This was a pretty big headline. McGrath wins Kentucky Democratic primary to face McConnell. So McGrath is Amy McGrath, I believe her name is. She's a former Marine like myself. She's a former Marine, but she was a fighter pilot, and she is a Democrat who is taking on Mitch McConnell, who's, I wonder how long Mitch has been in his seat. He's been in his seat probably, what, 25, 30 years, which I think is ridiculous for any politician anyway. Just, you know, no matter Democrat or Republican, I think, you know, a term limit should be like two terms, which would be 8 years. This way you can, you know, get new ideas constantly cycling through the political process, in my opinion. But that's, you know, obviously if you're a lifelong politician and you've been in politics your whole life, you don't want that to happen. But I'm just saying that's just my point of view. Anyway, what's really important here is you're seeing a Democrat who has the ability, based on the current environment, to quite possibly take a seat of a Republican who's held this seat for however many years. Let me see if I can find that out. It's got to be 30 years. Mitch McConnell has held his seat for, well, he's 78 years old. He's the Senate Majority Leader, and he has, since 1984, so 36 years. 36 years. And I'm assuming he's held a seat the entire time. And I may be wrong about that, but I'm just, you know, he's been in politics for a long time. Okay. What's interesting though about this is that as you, and I know there's a lot of people that are listening in that are not in the United States. That's why I'm kind of trying to talk from an outsider's point of view looking in. As many of you are aware, Trump is facing a really tough election as he continues to slip in the polls. Now, there's so many months left and anything can happen, but right now it's starting to look a little shaky for him. And we can't read too far into it because as we get closer to the election, things will probably tighten up quite a bit. But for right now, things are looking a little shaky for him at the moment. What you're seeing is, like yesterday, Mitch McConnell, who is the Senate Majority Leader, and he's a Republican, he actually broke ranks yesterday, and he told people they should be wearing face masks no matter what. And that's interesting because that's kind of moving away from what the stance that the Trump administration had been taking. So what that tells me is that he's probably saying, okay, I need to start looking out for my re-election prospects, and I need to start catering more to what my constituents wants versus what my party wants, so I can try to get reelected. But what you're seeing is probably a lot of Republicans are going to start breaking rank a little bit. Because they're worried about themselves. I mean, as you can imagine. So what will be really interesting moving forward is a lot of these states, like, whether you're talking about Texas, Kentucky, Arizona is one that is teetering between red and blue, red being Republican, blue being Democrat. Arizona has been a long time Republican state. So is Texas for probably since like the 80s or something like that. I don't know. I'm just guessing there. I think it's been quite some time. But anyway, if you start to see some of these key states lose their Republican seats to Democrats, that tells us a lot about what the feeling of the constituents are in that particular state, especially these key battleground states. So the reason why we should pay attention to it as traders is because if you start to see Democrat support in some of these typically what would be considered red states, that that to me would tell me what the people are feeling in that particular state, which is now putting at risk Trump's reelection prospects. And the reason why we need to pay attention to that is because, if Joe Biden takes away the presidency from Donald Trump, then a lot of people think that equity markets will come under pressure. I'm being one of them. Now, I would be first to tell you that on any significant dip in the stock market, I would be a buyer after that. But I'm just saying that we could see a shift in sentiment in equities as a result. So if you start to see this, I guess you could call it a blue wave, if you will, of Democratic support amongst some of these, key states and some of these seats, then it might start to affect, like I said, equity markets a little bit more. Dominic asked me a little earlier, is it really going to be that big of a deal going into, Rick said, by the way, Rick said McConnell's been reelected 5 times. Thank you, Rick. Is it going to be a big deal until November or September? I actually think it is. That's why we have to, I think it's a big deal because I think the markets are going to start queuing off of that weeks and months ahead of the election. And you guys know as well as I do, you can't, it's the game, it ain't over until it's over, and it ain't over until election night. But instead of the market going straight up on a breakout, we might do a lot of sideways price action, maybe even slightly more bearish going into the general election if you start to see a shift in sentiment towards the Republican Party as a whole. So I think that's why we as traders really need to pay attention. And that's why these headlines are getting, you're going to start seeing them pop up on Bloomberg because there are concerns that the market will be paying attention to. One of them is the reopening of the United States and how good or bad things are going regarding COVID-19. And then you got equities are coming under a little bit of pressure. You're going to have worries about unemployment benefits coming to an end in July. Then you got the elections. Things are going to start getting a little trickier. And the good news is, as a trader for us, is we're going to see more volatility. What typically is typically can be a slow summer. Because people are out on vacation. Everybody's in front of their computers right now. Liquidity may still be a little down, but we obviously will be able to get some volatility this summer, which is good for all of us, because it's going to be, you're going to see one day where everybody's more bullish because of whatever reason, and then other days where the market's extremely bearish because of whatever the reasons are. And that's good because I'd rather us get a lot of up and down price action versus nothing happening at all. And so, anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little heads up for those of you that don't understand U.S. politics. That's a very, very brief 20,000 foot view, of kind of what we're dealing with. But, like I said, I'm no political expert by any stretch of the means. I'm not the right person to talk about, policies and, who does this and who does that. Like I said, it's just I wanted to kind of give you an overview of, what we need to be looking out for as traders. Okay. Let me see. Anything else that I really wanted to cover today well, let me answer a couple questions. Brock says 2 senator terms is 12 years. Yeah. So 12 years. So, because they're 6-year terms, right? I said eight year, which would be 4, but 8. So they're 12-year terms. So 12 at 6 times 5 is 30. Yeah. So he's been in the Senate for 30, however many years that we said. Crazy, right? It's a long time. It's a long time to you think about as a politician, whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, think about being in politics for that long. How many favors do you owe, right? you give me this money, I'll vote for you this way, I'll push this bill through. You know, again, it doesn't matter what side you're on. It's just you're a politician. So, you know, after 30 years in politics, I mean, you know, uh, it's a game I wouldn't want to play anyway. But anyway, let's see. I'm not going to talk about like who will win, who won't win, and who. I'm just not going to. Yeah, I'm just not going to go there. Venkat says, "Hey Blake, can you check oil, please? Thanks." Yeah, it's so irritating with crude oil. Let's take a look at crude. Okay, so crude is back up at the 618. I still think, based on what happened yesterday, I still think the risk is that we push a little higher in crude oil. Personally, I'd like to see it. This is the same analysis as yesterday, right? Oops. I'm going to have to redraw something. So same analysis as yesterday. I think this is possible, right? Something like that. Let me grab this and put it back. So I think a move up to 39 and a quarter, I think, is still possible. And it looks like, you know, if we take out these highs right here, that's what I would be thinking. You know, move up to 39 and a quarter might be a good level to sell. However, stocks are under pressure right now, so we'll see if that happens or not. So there you go. And Rick says, yeah, forever agree, term limits. I mean, you know, the president of the United States is in his late 70s. Biden's in his late 70s or mid 70s, right? I mean, we need younger politicians, younger ideas, all the way around. It doesn't matter, you know, the establishment, quote unquote, the establishment, whether the establishment is Democratic or Republican. We need some fresh, new ideas in America. We do, and I'm just a big advocate, and always have been, that term limits should be, you know, much shorter than they are. So anyway, that's always been my opinion, you know, and people that are in politics they're going to fight that, because people like to have power for a long period of time, right? No matter what side of the aisle they happen to be on. You know, you take Nancy Pelosi. How old is she? Like 400? I mean, she should not be where she's at. She should be at a retirement home somewhere, for crying out loud. So I probably 70% of the politicians out there should be. You know, that's crazy. Anyway, all right, guys, I better shut up now while I can. So for those of you that, one other thing too, the euro pound. So this was the chart of the day yesterday. We had a pretty epic failure. I just want to go over this really quick. We had a pretty epic failure at the 161% extension. I picked up some euro pound down here at my average is 92. I like the fact that we might have done a little false breakdown here. I'd like it better if we got back, you know, towards 91.20, 91.50, but I still think the trajectory is higher. I want to see it hold the support, which it is, you know, for now. So I don't want it to go much lower than where it is currently. And I think the risk reward to be long here is good, because, you know, your risk is here, you know, in the 70s, your reward's probably up here. So if you're buying it here, I mean, you look, the risk reward's at least, you know, 1 to 2, if not 1 to 3, depending on, you know, what you're looking for. It went a little further than I thought it was going to, because obviously month end. So we kind of dipped a little further than I thought. But, you know, you got to expect some volatility on month end. Puha said, politics is the business of retired people, ain't it? Resh said, run for president, Blake. You know, if I had the time and I had the, you know, if I had the time, I'd at least start at the local level and just try to be like, mayor of my town. You know, that'd be a one step, right? Get these kids in order around here. Jeez. All right. Hey, for those of you that are listening in after the fact, you know, make sure you try out ForexAnalytix. It's only $1 for 10 days. For those of you guys that are listening in live and you're supportive of ForexAnalytix and you're part of the family, I thank you for your continued support. I appreciate it. I love having all of you guys in the chat room. It's fun just being able to banter with you all day. And I want to thank you. I'll catch you tomorrow morning. Remember, on the Face webinar, Dale's out. So tomorrow morning, like today, I'll go through all the majors and I'll make sure I get all that analysis out of the way before I hand things over to Steve and turn it over to him. So we'll see you then. You guys have a great one, and I'll talk to you soon.